So this is a very big picture question, and kind of to help culminate our discussion here, and however you might answer. Um, um, how do you envision a world in which there is an increase of global consciousness, and how do you think it might transform the structures and systems, all the various structures and systems of our society and world?
Okay, that's a big question. So,
In 10 words
I
or
think
less.
I think I'm going to sort of repeat what I said before. I think the changes on the planet are leading to a simpler lifestyle, where we're going back to the basics in family and relationships, business, all of that, commerce, politics. Um, and right now, we're a bit removed from all that. So I think when you think everything that people do today is sort of, for each other in particular, is commercialized. And with this propaganda that it's great to be so independent. You know, we don't have to depend on anyone else for anything. Like you think of senior citizens, elder care, child care, building your home, even repairs in your home, everything we pay somebody else to do. And I'm learning, living in Italy, that those are things your neighbors do, your friends do, all of those things. You don't hire somebody else to do that. So I think it's important to recreate this. And in terms of the different segments, like in medicine, I see more, people are more interested in the mind-body, spirit connection. So once people integrate that into their healing process, I think there'll be less of a need for pharmaceutical medicine, because people will not manifest certain illnesses because there'll be a way to prevent that. I think even certain major illnesses people will not get because they'll be getting other nourishment. There'll be other ways to nourish their soul or their bodies. And so I think that's how that will have an effect. In terms of other areas like agriculture, like we said before, people will want more clean food, more organic food, more healthy food. They don't want the genetically modified foods because people are learning now what they're doing, you know, what it does to the body of animals. You know, it's just really frightening when you read some of that information. In terms of the media, I think it will become less about politics and more about us. So it won't be so us versus them, like Fox News reports this way and CNN reports this way. I think we'll have more balanced reporting, considering all sides. Sort of like we were saying earlier with politicians. If there was more of a sense of, okay, where do we have to go together? Where does this country, one country, have to go together? I think it will be more balanced. In terms of other global issues like the environment, I think if people see the planet as sacred, they can't pollute. You know, you're not going to pollute your own house. I mean, unless, you know, of course we do when we're messy, but it's like you protect your home on certain levels. And I think if you have a sense that you are the earth, we are the environment, we're just an extension of the environment, that you'll have more reverence for the environment. And, you know, like we were saying with Sandy, I mean, it will force people to look at alternative forms of clean energy. So that, because now they're without electricity, they're without gas power, and, you know, people are going to look for options. So I think we're moving towards a more compassionate world, and I think that's a very good thing. Yeah. So you see people's consciousness changing, and I think it's very positive. I think it's very promising.
Yeah, and that's, you know, as the earlier question I asked about hope, that really is, in my belief, that's where the hope is. And I think also, as you're saying, just to add on, that like all the talking about the systems, medicine and agriculture, media, it's all made up of people. It's not external. It's all of us doing whatever types of work we do. And as people transform consciousness, grow evolve in their thinking, and they're involved whatever way in this, that's also how so again, that's like how personal transformation leads to this larger transformation. I mean, Barbara Marx Hubbard and Pierre Teilhard de Chardin and others talk about the concept of the noosphere, that these thought fields go into the greater world and become ideas that get the seeds of ideas that get shared and greater thinking capabilities get shared so that also as all of us do our work, we will help transform because the systems are us. I
Mm-hmm.
work in the health field and I see the changes. I see so many changes and I see how people are so open to mind, body, and understanding more and more and realizing that no matter how much pressure the pharmaceutical companies put on people, that they just don't want to buy into it as much. So,
Yeah, say they're in tune with their bodies too. They know what's good for their bodies and what's not. I think that's something else that even younger people, you see there's more of an awareness of their surroundings, their environment, and they're not buying some of these lines that we're hearing
mm-hmm.
from pharmaceutical companies, from other sources.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. So what would you say in your personal life? What's next for you? Where are you putting your energies right now in the in in the world or in your life?
well, you mentioned Barbara Marx Hubbard. She's one of the wonderful evolutionary leaders in our group, and I always think about her because
Mm-hmm.
she's about 82 now,
Yeah, she's an
and
amazing person.
she's incredible. Her energy, her commitment, she has never stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So I really see her as a great inspiration for me because she also just she sees where there's the need and where she can help the most, and she's guided it.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like this move to Italy, as I was saying before, was some guidance that I felt I needed to also be local because I was very global with the United Nations. I was chairing a committee on spirituality, values, and global concerns, and very involved with the global. But in New York, it's hard to focus on the local in New York
Mm-hmm.
City. So I want to be able to combine the two. So that's why I'm hoping eventually here I'll be able to buy a home where I could put solar and maybe have wind and
Mm-hmm.
grow my own food and just go back to the basics that we were
Yeah.
talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And I feel also very committed with the evolutionary leaders, and I see that now, even beyond what I did with the UN as sort of my global work, because creating, helping to support, I should say, this shift, this movement and consciousness on a global level, I think is really key.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the best place where I could put my effort. So if I can continue to help support this evolutionary leaders community in doing the work, because they already reached thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people with their books and with their words. So if I could support them in really getting their message out on how to do things differently, I feel like I'm doing the work that I'm meant to do. So I see that as simultaneous, the local and the global is really where what's next for me.
Yeah, well, that's great. And it's the saying that's propped up, I don't know, in the 1970s or 80, whatever it was, of act or think globally, act locally is so true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's so. Yeah.
Yeah, one other thought also, just some of the things you were saying about being more simple. I mentioned the country of Bhutan. There's I don't know if you've ever seen a documentary, a great documentary, Bhutan, the Middle Way to Happiness. It's about,
No,
and they talk about their gross national happiness and how it came to be, and that the former king who started, now the current king, they didn't want to, as they opened Bhutan up to the west, they didn't take the position that globalization is bad and tradition is good. They wanted to find that Buddhist middle way, so they wanted to still maintain traditional values, but not shun the way the world's going. So really it is, as we return to a simpler way, it's with an evolved way of thinking to say, not say, oh, let's unplug and become Luddites and get off the grid, which is not a bad thing, but instead in an evolved way of we are interconnected, but we can be simple and we can be of higher consciousness, of higher service. So that's just a thought, not necessarily a question from what you're saying, and with your own work and the work of trying to do things globally and locally. in kind of that integration of global, local, middle way, not saying this is bad, this is good.
Yeah, and that's something else. I thank you for that, and I want to see that video because that's something else I'm learning. Because I live very close to a Buddhist healing and meditation center in Italy, and I'm not Buddhist myself, but I really appreciate the Buddhist way, the middle way. And I noticed the lamas never really say this is good or this is bad. They don't really put judgments on things. Somehow, with their wisdom, they always find a way to make it neutral, or to make it something positive because the person is helping either to, burn their karma or make a change. So it's all very supportive. So I'm learning a lot from this middle path as well, not to put judgments on anything, to just accept.
Yeah, it's a challenge for all of us, especially in when there's political elections and the polemics that come of it. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, ourselves we become very polarized, trying to political elections. It's sort of like he's the bad guy and he's the good guy. And how can we see, the good in both candidates, but also both of them need to be challenged because it's not so, not so black and white sometimes.
Yeah. So if people, you mentioned the Evolutionary Leaders website, so if people watching this video want to more information about your work, your organizations you're involved in, how should they go about doing so? So we'll recap.
Yeah, I think the best ways is, first of all, the Source of Synergy website is sourceofsynergyfoundation.org, and we said evolutionaryleaders.net. So those are the two ways that they could go about it. Also, our committee at the United Nations is C as in cat, CSVGC.
CSVGC.
-ny.org.
Okay.
And that's the Committee on Spirituality, Values, and Global Concerns at the United Nations.
Yeah, and I'll post those links in the text below on the interview page when I post this all. And then you mentioned Facebook page for...
It's just evolutionary. They look up Evolutionary Leaders, and they could get on our Facebook page. That's the other way that they could.
Great. So we all have many ways to connect in this day and age.
It's now in this age.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much, Diane, for sharing and giving your time to doing this. So I think
for your wonderful work.
Yeah, thank you.
What's happening, planet?
Yeah, so we'll end the interview. I'll hit the stop button, then we can just chat a little more. But anything else? Any last words you want to add before we, call it a day?
I just wish everybody that's been affected by Hurricane Sandy the best, and I know it's a great tragedy, but hopefully in the end we'll see some positive things as a result.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, and we'll look forward to seeing more of the Evolutionary Leaders and Source of Synergy Foundation as things continue. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Diane.